Much better. Hi everyone, Sid here, back in the car, slowly mastering the car video. And a fair warning, it is late afternoon and I am heading east on the only road in Canada, according to South Park. So there will be some occasional glare on this screen. I hope you're indulgent of that. Today I wanted to address a topic request that was asked of me by Avatar 486, who basically just wanted me to share my opinions on the political candidates in the U.S. presidential election. I don't have that much to say on them because, you know, my generic catch-all term for these people are liars in suits, and I think that it's interesting enough for me to comment on these because I actually enjoy watching political debates. The reason that I enjoy these is because I consider these studies in advanced sophistry, because the bottom line is these are some of the best liars in the world that are vying for the most powerful positions in their geographical area, and that's when they're going to bring out all the sophist tricks that liars will typically resort to when asking you to trust them, basically. So I don't there was the Canadian federal election, which was taking place during the primaries or whatever, where the Americans are selecting their candidates, which is going on right now. So I wanted to just reminisce over the debates that I did watch and just share my thoughts, and hopefully that will make some sense by the time I'm done. The first thing I want to mention is the first Fox debate. Most of these, obviously you know this if you live in the States, most of these debates were for the Republicans. As of this recording, the Democrats only had one debate, which I will get to eventually in this video. So the first Fox debate, I didn't really watch it. My infatuation with the candidacy of Donald Trump was really the only reason that I wanted to watch that debate. And when I was watching it, I was basically skipping all the parts except for when Donald Trump or Rand Paul were speaking. So I got to get a feel for the Donald's candidacy, and I remember being extremely amused. I was laughing so hard when I forget what it was, but one of the first questions that Trump was asked, he basically sidetracked it and said, "Listen up, tough guy. First of all, what the fuck is Rand Paul doing here? His numbers suck. He doesn't belong here. He should have been in the other debate that nobody watched with these secondary guys." And I was extremely amused by that. And something that I'm reminded of in this moment, it's a true testament to, and you get a feel for this in all political debates, basically. Politicians are absolute masters at pointing out logical fallacies when someone else is committing them. And I remember Rand Paul, I think that it was a non sequitur that he had called Trump on, and I found that a fascinating example of how the politicians and sophists in general, you know that they know what they're doing because when someone else does it, they can call them on it like that. And this was a phenomenon that happens over and over again in political debates all throughout the American campaign so far, and it also happened during the Canadian campaign. But the other thing that I wanted to that I remember from the first Fox debate was there was a point where Rand Paul and Chris Christie were exchanging words over the Patriot Act, I think. And I was totally shocked at how fast Chris Christie was to wrap himself in the bodies of the victims of 9/11. On both sides, I know that Hillary, when she was justifying her support of the Patriot Act post 9/11, she was making allusions, the same typical allusions that politicians make when they're taking your rights away, as it's necessary to keep us safe. I mean, the resort to which Chris Christie, when he was saying that he was there, and when he went and hugged the families or something, this debate happened a while ago, and I'm not watching that shit again. I love you guys, but I'm not watching it again. I remember being truly shocked, and that's an impression I get of Chris Christie overall, is that it is clearly not his first rodeo. This guy is shrewd, and he has this smooth way of pulling out all these politicians' tricks, and it's something that strikes me every time I see this guy in a debate. Like, just the way that I know that at the last CNBC debate, when he was chastising them about asking questions about fantasy football, the smoothness with which he was being all indignant of the topic of the questions, it was staggering to me. Let me just check my notes here. Oh yes, so the one debate that I did watch, well, the second Republican debate, which was on CNN, I don't have much to say on that debate. I watched it, and I was, again, I watch these debates as a study in sophistry, and I was entertained by the tricks that these politicians were pulling off. Nothing really jumped out at me that's worth going over right now, except for when Jeb Bush was being questioned about how, correct me if I'm wrong, but something tells me that Jeb Bush is somehow running on this platform, somehow attempting to present himself as not being part of the old school political machine, even though he's a fucking Bush. I mean, what more can you say? And I remember when Anderson, I forget who the moderators were of the Republican debate on CNN, but one of them asked him a question about that, and he was like, well, yeah, sure, I might be a Bush, but I'm my own man. Yeah, sure, buddy. I remember rolling my eyes at that, and God, that guy sucks. Like, as a Canadian spectator who doesn't really have much stake in the winner of this campaign, except, of course, for the foreign policy. Well, foreign policy is more of an overseas thing. Here in Canada would be more of a trade deal thing. Like, the bottom line is, they're all liars, and they all initiate force for a living, and from that perspective, it doesn't make that much difference to me who wins this campaign, but I would love to witness a presidential campaign where it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. I would watch that campaign like a hawk, and I know that many of my southern neighbors are shuddering at the thought of these two people getting their respective candidacies, but I would see it as a constant struggle for these guys to resist the urge to say, listen up, fuckface, what the fuck is wrong with you, and all that stuff. I would, my inner troll would be happy to no end to see these people get their respective nominations, although I can definitely sympathize for people who are scared of Trump getting the nomination. Anything else I wanted to say? Yeah, there's one thing that I want to mention this because it's relevant to both the Democratic debate on CNN and this debacle of a debate on MSNBC that happened recently. and there was allusion to this in the Canadian campaign as well. Moderating a political debate is a tough spot to be in because, again, these are sophists, and the bottom line is you can ask them whatever question that you want. They're gonna say whatever the fuck they want to say. Sometimes they'll pretend to answer the questions. Sometimes they'll flat out say, you know what, fuck your question, I want to talk about this, and then spend their time doing that. And as a moderator, you're kind of stuck in a position where, let's say you ask a question and the person completely dodges the question and pretends that they answered. You can call them on it, and this could lead to potential like altercation where you're trying to get this sophist to answer a question that he or she clearly doesn't want to answer, and you just end up consuming time, or you just move on and hope that the audience at home was perceptive enough to realize that the person didn't answer the question at all. And that's just one of many potential altercations that can happen, and it can lead to some friction between the candidates and the moderators. And an example of this, I think it was handled quite well, was when during the Democratic debate when Anderson Cooper and what's his name? There he is, Jim Webb. When Jim Webb was basically complaining to Anderson about how he wasn't getting time to address the issues and how it wasn't equal time. And I think that is an absolutely legitimate complaint. And it was, I think that all things considered, Anderson handled it well in the sense that you kind of have to remind him that he agreed to these rules, and as much as it could be frustrating for this guy to watch Sanders and Clinton pass each other the ball back and forth and basically almost monopolize the entire debate, you wanna state your case, and at the same time you don't want to irritate the moderator where, let's say he had a bunch of tough gotcha questions to just break them out of their vault and lob them to you, or maybe in some kind of passive-aggressive way lock you out of the debate entirely. And on the other hand, there's this MSNBC thing where, or CNBC or whatever the fuck kind of NBC sub-brand this debate was, where the whole thing was a mess. And it's funny that, like, if you want to ask a bunch of gotcha questions, don't make it so obvious where you get called on it right away and end up losing control of the debate. I mean, even when the crowd is jumping in and recognizing just how god-awful you're being as a moderator, I think that's a symptom of a debate in which you've completely lost control. And I think they didn't just drop the ball, they fucking spiked that thing. They were like, we're gonna piss off some Republicans. There you go. So I think that the debacle was interesting to watch. It was entertaining to watch these politicians give their comments to questions. And the funny thing is, I remember, I forget which moderator asked this question to Mike Huckabee, of if Donald Trump has the moral character to run the nation or something like that. And the funny thing is, I think that in the abstract, it's kind of a legitimate question when you consider what Huckabee's said in the past. It's a legitimate gotcha question to ask. I think that it's fair to have candidates criticize other candidates in a debate. However, at this point, they had already lost control of the debate, so Huckabee could just fall back on the already lobbed criticisms of how shitty of a job these people were doing, and he managed to avoid the question entirely. Let me just make sure. Oh, this truck wants to cut in front of me. There we go. Actually, I don't think there's much else for me to comment on that was. I mean, again, typically when I'm watching the American debates, I'm doing something else. I enjoy live tweeting. I really do. However, I don't have that many opportunities to do so because I have to be at home in front of my TV, in front of a live TV show. And when I'm live tweeting, obviously I pay attention to what's going on, and I could have more to say on what's going on. I would have more comments to make on the Canadian elections, but I don't really feel like it. I had a blast live tweeting the French debate that happened, but the debate's over, and honestly, I don't care enough to go back to do a play-by-play of a campaign that's already over. But the bottom line is, all the American debates, I watched them after the fact. That's why I went on my rant on live tweeting. So if I get wind of a debate ahead of time and I'm actually available to watch it and watch it live, we'll do it live, and then I might actually have more to say. But I think that even if, like me, you don't believe in the system and you think it's just a bunch of liars, killers, thieves, and liars forcing you to pay them, basically, as Mark Stevens would say, I think that it's important to watch the political debates that happen during a campaign for the head of state in your area, because it can be, it's a study in advanced sophistry, and I think that it's important to keep your mind sharp and catch liars at the highest levels of lying to see what kind of tricks they do and to see if you can catch them. So besides that, if I get wind, I might have another comment on the last debate, but statistically speaking, I'm probably not going to catch it live, so I guess that'll be it for today. So thank you very much for watching. Please like and share. You'll find links to my Twitter and Tumblr and all that stuff under this video, and feel free to leave comments if there's anything else you want me to comment on, or specific candidates that I may have left out, or moments that I forgot to cover. So that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you soon as I produce more content for this channel. So thank you very much. You take care. I'll see you soon.